What's going on, everybody? Bobby Kaplan here with Bigger, Stronger, Happier. I have a longtime friend here, Casey Reppel. We were football teammates back in high school. That's how we know each other. And we worked together a little bit on nutrition and training for about a month while I was getting certified. So did my first interview, and Casey, you had mentioned that you wanted to come on and talk a little bit about anxiety and substance abuse. And I thought that was awesome because along with weight loss, I feel like just men in general, we don't like to talk about our problems or like advertise them to the world. So for you to come out and just say that you want to talk about that, I was like, all right, hell yeah, let's go. So, I don't know if you want to give any background on yourself or anything, but I guess my first question to you would just be like, what does anxiety mean to you? Because I know it's different for everyone.
Yeah. So just let me start by saying, part of the reason I wanted to jump on is because as men, we aren't really allowed to share our feelings. So I'm trying to, change the tide when it comes to that. We should be allowed to express ourselves as much as women are. It's healthy. In fact, we do things like how I want to talk about substance abuse to kind of hide these feelings and hide our anxiety. So number one, I want to normalize that for men to be able to talk about. But yeah, anxiety to me, that's a complex question because it really is just all that stress that builds up in you that causes you to worry for nothing. In life, there's a lot of stuff that we can't control, but we want to. And I think especially as men, we've been told since, we grew up that we're supposed to be the head of the household or that we're supposed to take control of situations or that people look at us to lead. And so when you can't control a situation or you can't control things going on in the world, it might lead to some of this anxiety, some of this stress, some of these causes. And I think a lot of anxiety does derive from us not being able to kind of take control of our life or, handle certain stressful situations.
Yeah, I think that's so relatable because I don't know about you, but the last couple of years as I've gotten into holistic health, I've been able to kind of like sideline my expectations for things. But for the majority of my life, I would play out like every single situation in my head, like how I wanted it to go. And like I had an ideal outcome for every situation, and it never happens like that. Literally never turns out the way
Yeah.
you think it is. So
No. And that goes both ways. It never happens as good as you want or as bad as you want. So like if you're in school and you think you're going to fail a test, 9 times out of 10, you get a C or a D. You don't really get that full F, but you think, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, you're just going to fail out and the teacher's going to laugh at you. You know what I mean? So it's
well,
funny.
you can speak for yourself because I got all F's. So, but a good thing, one of my friends, actually Zavi, the first guy I interviewed, we were talking, and he was talking about like mental mapping and about like taking things out. Like, let's say you do have a negative thought like that, like really taking it all the way out and saying like, this happens, like let's say, for example, in this interview, if I didn't know what to say, like I could think about it and it would give me anxiety, but realistically, what would happen? I would just gather my thoughts. It would be a little awkward moment and we move on. And you could take that with anything, like even with my business. If I think about like, oh, I'm going to fail in my business, you're not going to fail. It might take a little longer, but once you map these things out, you realize like stuff's not actually as bad as you think it is, like you said. So
Yeah.
what are some ways that you positively handle that stuff? Like when those thoughts come up, what's your go-to methods?
Well, you described what I try to do most is map it out. I think if I can kind of control a situation in the sense of being able to map it out and understand what I'm doing, that helps to relieve a lot of that. I try not to tell people exactly what to do it because we're all different. Like I know a lot of times you'll see online or you'll hear from people, hey, go for a walk. Why don't you go for a run? Hey, you should get into lifting. But if you don't enjoy those activities, it's not going to help you. So, it could be as simple as brainlessly on your phone playing a game, not on your phone looking at politics or, looking up stuff. It really just like playing like Tetris or something on your phone. Or it could be as complex as, like you said, mapping it out. But what it really is, it needs to be something that almost doesn't turn your brain off, but stops it from overthinking. So if you can find a healthy outlet that's not a substance. It's not, something that would be detrimental to your health, because, it doesn't have to be an alcohol or a weed or a substance. It could be food. It could be, sleeping in too much. There's a lot of ways that you can shut off your brain that aren't healthy. But if you can find something that's healthy, that's not harming you or anyone else, then I say go for it.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, people say what helps for them because it helps for them, but the only way you're going to figure out is through trial and error. So
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with trying 9 things and having them not work, and then you try the 10th and you're golden. Like, in my opinion, failure is part of it. And in anything, the more comfortable you get with just being okay with failing, the more successful you're going to be.
No, absolutely. Like, you might find out that you love woodworking and you've never touched a piece of wood in your life. It really is just trying different things until you find something that kind of clicks, that you're like, you know what, I do have fun doing this. And I really didn't think about those stressful situations anymore.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned a little bit about food and substances. What is your history with substance abuse? Because I don't know too much about it, but I know you said you wanted to talk about it. So I guess kind of give the floor to you and just kind of see where you want to go with it.
Yeah. So the substance that I essentially abused was alcohol. I don't really touch any drugs, not even weed, even though I'm kind of looking into the positives of that, but that's a whole different story. But what happens is, I started using alcohol to take away from my stressful situations. And this was good stress and bad stress. I mean, while I started ramping up my alcohol use, I graduated from college, I had a child, I bought a house, I got promoted at a job. So it's not, a lot of people might see it, and a lot of people don't know this, but there's a lot of people around us that have substance abuse problems that you can't tell, because, we're still productive members of society. But when you have that much stress in your life, good or bad, you need an outlet for it. And unfortunately for me, I realized that alcohol was a good substitute. And between that and food, I kind of ballooned up in weight. I stopped really working out. I stopped using other ways to relieve stress, and alcohol became the quote unquote drug of choice. So I kind of just really figured out before I hit rock bottom, thank God, that, I was starting to have a problem. Back in college days, when you drank a ton, it was funny, it was fun, you're doing it with your friends. But when you find out that you blacked out by yourself on a Saturday night because everyone went to bed and you're just by yourself getting hammered, you might have a problem. If there's no real reason why you're drinking other than that you kind of want that numb feeling, you might have a problem. And I think that's also kind of why I wanted to come on, so that people can kind of understand that, like, you don't necessarily have to have a problem because, you lost your job or you're homeless or you're doing this or that. Your problem, you could still be, very successful and have a problem. You could only drink occasionally and still have a problem with alcohol. It's all about what you're using it for. So if you drink, on occasion because you're celebrating, that's fine. But if every time you get a bad grade or every time something bad happens in your life that you turn to the bottle, you have a substance abuse problem. And so, kind of open, and it doesn't have to be a bad one. It doesn't mean you have to stop drinking. It could be as simple as you just being aware that that's your problem. Because if people do it with food too, and they have a bad day, they want to order a pizza when really they should, stay away from that. So it's not necessarily that everyone needs to go to rehab or you need to stop. It's just more so being aware of your triggers and being aware of if you are abusing a certain substance. So it's a little over a year ago, I've been sober. I decided to stop drinking. I went to a psychiatrist. They started me on some medicine for drinking, but luckily I wasn't physically addicted to it. I was just mentally. So I didn't have any withdrawal symptoms, which was nice, because I've heard a lot of people, go through it pretty rough. So once they gave me that, they gave me some anti-anxiety medicine, once I kind of told them what I was going through. And we kind of figured out what my problems, what my triggers were. And since then, I've just kind of stopped drinking. It just there hasn't been a good opportunity for me to do it. So I kind of just stayed away from it.
Yeah, I think I think it's commendable and also very introspective of you to be able to put yourself in that situation of asking for help, because especially like you said, like you had a case where you were doing like drinking by yourself. Like it wasn't like people didn't know or like, you know, if you did it by yourself, you didn't, it wasn't showing to other people. Like you could have kept it going and damn dogs. But so were you, hey, was it like one event for you, or was it kind of like a snowball effect where like it just kept building up and you're like, all right, this doesn't really serve me anymore?
It was definitely a snowball effect. I started figuring out things weren't normal. Like I said, I could be alone drinking and you might think it's okay, but I'd wake up on a Saturday morning and want to start drinking. For no reason, not like I was going out with the boys and we were, going golfing or, any event where you might just be a little more lax. It would be a Saturday and I'm hanging out with my wife and kid and I want to have a drink. And it's like, well, that doesn't seem right. And I became just way less, to me, like I wasn't as good as a father. And I think that's what hurt me the most is if you wake up hungover and you had to be up at 6 a.m. with your child and they want to play, but you have to sit on the couch, it's not as fun. And they pick up on that stuff. So I think that was a big kind of turning point for me to realize that maybe I have a problem. And I want to be a better husband too. Simple as that. My wife also deserved to have a husband who was there to help with the kid, who would be around, who's not blackout drunk on a Saturday night when we finally have time alone to hang out, to watch movies, to, do what we need to do. So it's nothing catastrophic happened really. It's more so just all these events kind of leading up in my brain and letting me know like, this isn't the person you want to be.
Yeah, I can relate to that a lot because it's weird us having this conversation this week because literally this week, and you know me, I smoke weed a lot. I'm a big pothead. And like literally this week, I just stopped smoking weed like daily because I was like, I just got to a point where I was like, this doesn't really serve me. Like I'm doing it out of habit, but and I enjoy it. So I don't think I'll completely ever stop, but do I need to be smoking every day? Like it's not it for me, my willpower goes down the shithole. Like I will just eat whatever I want. Where if I just like don't smoke pot, I don't have those urges. And even just with like business or working out, I'm just lazier. So I'm like, I know these things, but for weeks I was thinking about, kicking around the idea of not smoking every day. And it was like you said, it was kind of just like thinking in the future, like 1 + 1 + 1 does not equal what I want.
Right.
So what's your opinion on, like, do you think, so, like alcohol, weed, those substances, those are things that you can cut out. You don't need to do those to survive. But a lot of the feelings of addiction can kind of tie into food as well. How do you navigate those feelings of anxiety? Not even anxiety, I guess addiction's a better word, with food, where it's like you have to eat. I mean, you can't just cut out eating. How do you balance that into a healthy way to kind of approach your nutrition?
Yeah. So eating disorders are real, very real. And a lot of it does have to stem from your anxiety and your stress. And like you said, unfortunately, like with alcohol, I can just stop drinking. Like I don't need it to live. I don't have to have it in my life. You can't do it with food. But that's why I think instead of teaching fad diets, which we like to do, we need to teach people how to eat again, how to be, more balanced. Because if you did have a long day and you ate well throughout the day and you wanted a couple slices of pizza, that's not going to hurt you. What happens though is if you had Taco Bell for lunch and McDonald's for breakfast and now you want to have Pizza Hut, well, you just compounded it. But if you count your calories and, to a better extent, you count your macros and you know how much protein and fats and carbs you want, you can make adjustments throughout your day if you're having a bad day to be able to have those little allowances that you want, that you may need to comfort you when you're having a bad day. So I think the first thing that we all need to learn is that food isn't the enemy. Bad foods aren't the enemy. Food in moderation is certainly what's important. But the problem is a lot of people don't have the willpower to do it. But I think once you do have a balanced diet and you keep your blood sugar even, you kind of lose some of those urges and it is easier to do. But, you know, it at a certain point, you still have to be an adult and be responsible for yourself. You know, not everything is easy in life, but you can make it easier for yourself. And there's a lot of healthy foods. I tell people too, with food and with working out, don't do stuff you don't like. Like, you're not a professional athlete. So if you don't like doing deadlifts, or you don't like squatting, or you don't like benching, then don't do that workout. You're not going to hurt yourself. There's plenty of alternatives you can do to build up certain muscles. So it's the same thing. If you don't like broccoli, then don't eat broccoli. Have spinach, have green beans, have asparagus. Like, we shouldn't be torturing ourselves in the kitchen the same way we shouldn't torture ourselves in the gym. There's plenty of good foods that you will enjoy, and it's okay to eat the same things over and over again if that's what you want to do. So I think you got to make it easier on yourself so that you don't fall into these bad habits of eating the McDonald's every day.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think a big part of that is kind of something you were alluding to. And a lot of what I teach with my stuff is developing a life dream and a life nightmare, and having a purpose. And if you don't have a purpose, it's easier to just kind of, like you said, you know, do whatever, eat McDonald's for breakfast, Taco Bell for lunch. But when you know that in your life dream, that's not what you want to have, it puts weight on those decisions, and it kind of makes it almost easier to get back on track, in my opinion. And, you know, for me, it's like, it's exactly what you said with finding balance. Like, everybody, a lot of diets, in my opinion, like keto and stuff, people do them because they're afraid of eating carbs. So they say, well, I'll just take it out completely, rather than doing it because I enjoy eating higher fat diet. You know what I mean? It's done from a place of exclusion, not inclusion.
Exactly.
And I feel like with how many options are out there, there's no reason not to, there's plenty of things you can find that you like. And like you said, just understanding that one bad meal isn't going to throw you off.
Yeah, I've been eating bad for like 2 weeks now. And I've gained probably like 3 pounds off of it, you know? And like, it's like, so that's what people have to realize. Is it going to take me longer now to get to the weight I want to be? Yeah, by 3 weeks, and that's fine. But it's not the end of the world. When you make it a diet instead of a lifestyle change, that's when I think you fail. If this is just how you're going to live the rest of your life, then you can have bad weeks. You can have a bad month. You can have a bad few months, as long as you just get back to it. And I think once you make that mindset change in your life and in your head, you're much better off. Because I've yo-yoed with my diet. I've been down to 200 pounds and back up to 300, you know, all over the place because I've cut carbs out. And then as soon as I brought carbs back in, I was eating all of them. So I think, you know, America definitely needs more of a nutritional education. But just in large, we all need to realize that carbs aren't your enemy. Yeah, you shouldn't be eating a whole pizza every day, but you can have carbs in your life and still lose weight and still have, you know, a balanced diet.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, I think tracking plays a big part of it because, like you mentioned, you might have not been eating 100% on point of what you'd like to, but you obviously were tracking your weight and you noticed, you know, all right, I'm only 3 pounds up. Whereas I mean, I've done this. I'm sure other people you might have just kind of put the scale like in the closet and be like, I don't want to look at it. Yeah.
It's like when you overdraft your bank, you don't want to look at your account. You're like, nah, I'm not going to that app.
Yeah. So I think tracking can be powerful. And that kind of leads me into something else I want to talk about when we work together. I like one of the first questions you asked me, I think you were eating like, what was it, like 2,000 calories or something? And you were like, oh, should I drop it down to like 1,800 or 1,500? And I was like, no, don't do that. So if we had you at 2,500 and you were still making progress, you actually increased your calories. And I think you might have, you know, stalled for a little bit, but then it started trending down, right?
Yeah. So I ended up maintaining kind of for a little bit there. Or no, well, I started by losing, and then now I'm kind of hit a maintain after losing like 10 pounds-ish. So, but yeah, it's kind of a mind warp to realize that you're losing weight by eating more. But when you work out a certain amount, your body needs the fuel. And that's another thing you got to kind of trick your brain, not trick your brain, but untrick your brain into realizing that like you're a furnace, and for you to run optimum, you gotta feed it. You can't just, you know, if you had a car and you put in $1 worth of gasoline, it's not going to run all the way to Florida. So you got to fill that bad boy up. And it's the same, your body got to fill it up.
And once you realize that, it gives you the freedom to throw in a couple pieces of pizza here and there, give you, you don't feel that restrictiveness that lends you or leads you down the road to kind of overeat, once you've done a week of 1,500 calories.
Yeah, and it's nice to not have a cheat day either. You can just kind of stay within your calories if you want to have bad meals and just kind of be able to work it around your day without having to gain 15 pounds after eating, one bad day. Especially, with being so big as we are at 2,500, I'm probably maintaining around 3 to 3,500. So if I really just wanted a maintenance day, I could have a lot more than even at 2,500. So it is nice, like I said, that you don't really look forward to those cheat days anymore, because every day can be a cheat day, and I'm not saying that's the best way to get the perfect body, but if you eat within your calories, no matter what you eat, you're going to lose weight. Your body composition might not be where you want it to be, but you'll lose weight.
Yeah. And I mean, I know you do a lot of lifting. That's like your main form of exercise, right? How do you, what do you feel like? Do you feel better? I mean, I'm assuming you do when you eat more. Does it, what's your lifting, does it kind of change? Do you notice it when your nutrition changes, or?
Yeah. So like I said, I've been eating bad for like the last few weeks and kind of going to the gym on and off, maybe 2-3 times a week, which I know is actually pretty good. But for me, it's bad because I was hitting 5-6 times. And those workouts have been crap. They've been bad. I haven't been able to really do what I want to do in there. But when I was eating right and hitting in the gym the correct way, I was in the gym for 1.5 to 2 hours, being able to maintain, high weights for the workouts I want to do. Now, I'll do my 30 minutes of cardio, get in there, kind of lift for 30 to 45 minutes, and I'm dog tired. When before I was hitting out an hour easy and hitting all my lifts. So the nutrition part is definitely a huge part. If you do want to lift, if you do want to be that part of it, the nutrition part is more important than people realize. It's not just getting to the gym. It's about what you do in the kitchen as well.
Yeah. And a lot of people want to throw out like arbitrary numbers, like it's 90% diet and like 10% workout, or like vice versa. But to me, that couldn't be further from the truth, because when you start having movements like for me, I can lift on almost anything, because I also have a background doing strongman where I just ate so much to get strong that like I'm used to just eating on full stomachs and like pounding food. But for me, I also started playing hockey again 2 years ago, and it is night and day. Like when I eat like shit, I play like shit. And when I eat well, I feel it. And to me, that's the synergistic kind of like thing between movement and nutrition, where when you have these things that make like eating better more valuable to you, you can't put like 90% to 10%, 80-20. Like it really gets you more sustainable, because you're not just eating because you think you should be doing it. You're eating because the other parts of your life are going to benefit from it.
Yeah. And I would say for anyone who's listening, who doesn't even have a substance problem, but is thinking about stopping, weed or drinking or whatever it is for performance enhancement to work out better, I'd 100% tell you, yeah, cut it out completely, because I wake up and I'm able to hit the gym at 6 a.m. and I'm able to kill it because there's nothing in my body. There's no toxins in that sense to stop me from getting up. And before, when I was drinking, everyone's been hung over. How hard is it to get actually in the gym or to hockey or to wherever and actually work out? But, once I stopped, that's part of the reason why I haven't, decided to drink yet again, because I'm just like, okay, I'm getting stuff done around the house. I'm, performing well in the gym. I'm performing well at my job. Like it was almost a negative that now that it's been so long since I had it, that I'm not sure I want to add that negative back. I probably will at some point. I'm not saying I wouldn't, just because I need to know whether I should ever drink again or not. More of a curiosity thing. But like I said, for now, my life is just, skyrocketed. So if anyone is out there thinking like, I like to drink and I like to work out, so it's going to be hard. Like, trust me, it'll be hard for a little bit, but it's going to be worth it when you see your numbers go through the roof.
Yeah, I can relate to that so much, because I used to drink all the time, and like it blew my mind actually when I think about it. how much I used to drink and still train. Like
Yeah.
I used to go to the gym and I would kill it after lifting. But then when I started to get into competing for strongman, my first ever competition, I was like, all right, I'm competing. I want to do well. I'm going to cut out drinking for, I think it was like 10 weeks or something. It was however far out I was to my competition. I was like, no alcohol. And those weeks, my training was phenomenal. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And again, like we were talking about the synergistic part of it, that made me, and that's really the reason why I don't drink as much anymore, because it's like you said, your performance is that much better. And I think it's also worth noting what you were talking about, how you want to try and, eventually you might try and drink again. And I think just to see, because our whole bodies, our whole life is just one big science experiment to me. And I know for me personally, I think if there's something that I was going to cut out completely, it would kind of fuck with my head, because for me, like saying, okay, something has this much power over me that I just can't do it at all, that just like makes me like my head go crazy. Like, why can't I do this? So like for me, I'm like, I would almost rather hit a couple speed bumps and like mess up, but then figure out how to manage things than try and just like avoid them completely. But you can't say that for everyone, because my reaction is completely different than your reaction, but the only way you're going to do it is to find out. So yeah, it could be easier for some people to just cut it out completely, but sometimes you just got to figure it out by trial and error.
Yeah, I was just definitely like, completely out here. If you're having troubles with alcohol and you don't think you could ever go back to it, please don't experiment. Like, it's not worth it. For me, I have enough of a support system where I know that if something happens and I have to cut it out again, I'm going to be able to. And again, like I said, I wasn't physically addicted, I was mentally. So I think if I avoid some triggers, some pitfalls, I can eventually incorporate it back in my life. Again, this is not good advice for anyone who is struggling with addiction. I do not ever suggest, obviously you're a human, you can do what you want. I'm not going to tell you to do or not to do. This is just my personal stuff. But I don't want us to also come across like, hey, it's no big deal. Like, just try it. And if you fail, oh well, because failing for some people is DUIs. Failing for some people, is serious trouble. So for me, it was falling asleep on the couch. So it's a big difference.
Yeah, I was about to say, neither of us are doctors or rehab experts or anything along that. So if anyone does, is listening to this and does need help, absolutely seek the advice of professionals. Because like you said, for us, it could be passing out on the couch, but for someone else, it could be passing out in a ditch in their car and, God forbid, killing someone. So,
right. It's
we can
serious
only speak
stuff.
to our experience.
Yeah.
But, getting back to the lifting side of things, what is it that draws you to lifting? What do you, because I love lifting too, and I find it interesting to see like what brings people into the weight room in the first place.
Man, for people like us, it's always the same thing. It's the competition, and you're competing against yourself in this situation. If you put up 300 benching one day, you want 305 the next day. If you saw a bicep muscle pop out one day, you want your traps to pop the next day. It's all about pushing yourself to be the better version of yourself. And that's what drives me to do it. When I see the progress, that's what drives me. It's a very vain thing. I like looking in the mirror. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see every time I go to the gym, I post a picture of me after the workout. I understand that, but it's what pushes me. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And who cares as long as you like it? I mean, right. I got to say, we were lifting and I started posting like a gym selfie after the gym every once in a while. I was like, oh shit, now I like doing that because of Casey. So it is, those gym selfies can be addictive.
Right.
But
like I said, it's a little douchey, but I'm cool with it.
Who cares what other people think?
Right.
What in the gym is your favorite lift if you had to pick one?
We already know it's the bench press.
That's true. I know you definitely got me beat on that one right now, but
yeah, it's probably the only one I got you beat on though. So at least there's that. But yeah, I've been good at that since I was young. So it's kind of the one that I've always chase. Recently, I've been really getting into squatting, but my form's still terrible, so I haven't gone past 225 free weight squat because I'm not trying to mess up my back. I'm not trying to do any of that. But I can't wait to get good form and really start pushing that one too. I don't know why. I just really like the way that one feels as well.
Dude, I meant to actually talk to you about that. I was going to say for my channel, we could do like a squat form video or something sometime because that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So what about, God, buddy, I'm sorry. So with lifting and nutrition and everything, what has kind of learning about body composition, how has that affected your view on just body weight in general, and kind of like your mental approach to the scale as far as, now that you're a little bit more informed on what body composition is and what it can do for you?
Yeah, so I'm not 100% there. I still look at the scale number and get upset, every now and then. I still want to be 200 pounds. I still want to be 215. But, and I posted this a while back, and I don't know if it was a story or it was on my actual page, but I posted a picture of me at 290 pounds a few years ago, and then a picture of me at 290 pounds a few months ago when I was working out. And the difference between the two people were stark. Like in one picture, I got a huge belly, face is hanging. In the other one, I got arms, I got shoulders, a flatter stomach, and I was the exact same weight.
I remember that. It looked like it was like a 30-pound difference.
Right? Yeah, exact same weight. And so like that kind of like, because I remember I was very discouraged by my weight on the scale because I was at 290 for, like 2 months. And I was like, how can I not lose the weight? And then when I saw those together, I went, oh, bro, you're getting ripped, even though the weight's not coming off. Like, it's fine. That's muscle being packed on. So I think when you can see it with the body composition, when you just trust your trainers, you trust people who are helping you out, you trust your diet, you trust your workouts, and then you have pictures to compare against, then that scale stops not really mattering as much. Because I'll sit on a scale now, and then, I fluctuate anywhere between 285 and 275 right now, depending on what I ate the day before. And it doesn't really affect me. I'm like, all right, yep, that's how much I weigh right now. What does affect me is when I wake up and I'm bloated because I had pizza and, soda, and now I'm like, oh, look at my belly. So now it definitely is more of an image than a weight thing.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to point out that weight fluctuations are completely normal. And someone who has lost weight or holds more weight, you're going to fluctuate more. So for people to think that it's a linear thing or a constant thing is just unrealistic. But something that really helped me is I used to be the same way, whereas like if I gained weight, my day was ruined. If I lost weight, I had a great day. And now every time I go to get on the scale, I just say, I won't be happy if I lose weight. I won't be upset if I gain weight. I'm just collecting data because that's really all it is. It's just data to see where you're trending. And it really doesn't matter today, tomorrow, the next day. It's just seeing, where you're going to be a year from now or where things are going. So, we talked a lot about purpose and like your life dream and life nightmare earlier, but something that you said a long time ago kind of stuck with me. It was something you posted on your Instagram, where you said, is with your daughter, you said something about, because you have a younger daughter, and you said like, I never want my daughter to remember me as the fat guy or something like that.
Yeah.
Can you just explain like the mindset change that like how much more powerful that is to you than just being like, I just want to lose a couple pounds,
Yeah. For anyone who has a kid, they'll kind of resonate with this. When you have a 2-year-old, when you have a newborn, they just kind of sit there and they look at you funny, and you're like, all right, well, do something. When they get into the toddler years, like she's 2 now, and she's running around, and she's on the floor, and she's giggling. When you're fat, it's hard to get down on the ground. It's hard to run around. It's hard to stand and push her on the swing. So it almost gives you a new purpose. Like, yeah, I want to get in shape to look good for me, but I also want to be there for my daughter. I want to be part of her memories. I don't want her memories to be, remember when me and mommy went to the park and daddy sat on the bench. I want to be, remember me and daddy went down the slide. Obviously I'm a bigger guy, so it's not every ride I can get on, but I also don't want to be in a place where the weight limit is, 300 pounds and I can't get on the ride with her because of how big I am. So, it's things like that that really kind of switch in your mind where, again, I post all my selfies. I do it for me too, but you also do it for other people, and that includes my wife. She'll never admit to it, but if I'm up to 325, she's less attracted to me than when I'm at 250. When she met me, I was 220 pounds. So there's no way I gained 100 pounds and she's like, yep, that's what I wanted, the fat dude over there. So, I do it for more than myself. And, for people, if you want to do it just for yourself, that's fine too. Find your why. It doesn't have to be what the movies say or what you think it should be. If it really is because you like the way you look in a picture, that's fine too. If you really like the way you look when you flex, that's fine. It really doesn't matter as long as you're doing it.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, there's also nothing wrong with admitting that your wife might not be attracted to you as a heavier person. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like,
Yeah.
people I feel like are ashamed to say, like, oh, there's a big body positivity move in like health at all sizes, but it's like, at the same time, it's like, let's be real here.
Yeah.
We're all human and we all are attracted to what we're attracted to. It might be, you want to look better, but at the same time, like, you can't deny we all like good looking people, good ripped.
Right. And there's no shame in being big. There's people who like them bigger anyways. You know what I mean? Like, I bet there were some women who would have preferred me if I was bigger. That's fine too. But the main purpose is, so you shouldn't feel bad either way. But I think, with the whole body positive thing, it's fine to be a bigger person, meaning you were bigger guys, but are you healthy? And are you going to continue to be healthy? Just because you're 350 and you have low blood pressure now, will you have low blood pressure when you're 50? I think that's something that people need to realize too, is it's more than just looks. It also has to be about your health.
Yeah, so a big part of when I started losing weight out of college was because it was strictly for girls. It was like, I want to lose weight and I'm going to get some girls. And then I lost all the weight, but I didn't have any confidence. So it's not like I was getting any girls anyways. So it was like, I lost a bunch of weight and I realized that the weight wasn't the problem. It was deeper than that. So,
definitely. 'Cause I can get girls at any weight. I've always been a confident person. I'm not worried about that part.
There you go. So, I guess one of the last things I kind of wanted to ask you is, which I like to ask people, because I think, we gotta, in order to appreciate the good things in life, we gotta appreciate the bad as well, because you can't escape the good versus the bad. It's whole yin yang and just the polarity of life. So what do you think is the best, worst thing that has ever happened to you?
Hitting my downfall with the alcohol. I was depressed. I was anxious. I was sad. And it brought a better version of me out of it. From the ashes rose a phoenix. And that's what a lot of people, when you have mistakes in your life, and the old cliche, you can learn from them, and you may at the time be like, shut up, I don't care, this sucks, but you really can, and you can become a better person through all of it. So, even though it was really hard a year ago to go through what I went through, and depression's no joke, and substance abuse is no joke, but if you get to the other side of it, if you take it seriously, if you're not ashamed to go out there and show yourself, you come out a better person. And I thank God that it didn't come down to a DUI or something like that to get me to that point. But yeah, I mean, it's simply, that's been the worst thing, probably the worst thing that's happened in my life, and then probably the best thing that's happened in my life.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree with that and can relate, in that we're oftentimes, we think things are bad because of what we're worried other people will think of it. But, as long as you can roll with the punches and stand up more times than you get knocked down, who cares what you get knocked down and why you got knocked down? Because that's probably going to be the biggest driver in your life. And Paul Chek says, a guy I follow, I don't think you know him at all, but he says the sickness is the greatest teacher of health. And for those people who might have not ever, had a substance abuse problem or any anxiety, they're not really going to have a big as a driving force as that. But for someone who, can relate with that and can be at peace with things that have really put them in shitty situations, that's just going to push you so much more, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think, that is kind of the piece that I'm trying to get to people too, is like, be open with your mistakes, be open with what makes you you, because we all are flawed human beings. And some of us, we hide it in the darkness. Some of us have let it out. Obviously when I first went through my stuff, nobody knew that I stopped drinking. Nobody knew that I was, going through depression, other than my wife and my close family, because I'll admit it, I was ashamed of who I was at the time. But now I look back and I go, okay, I can be ashamed that it got that far, but I was also so strong that I went and got help, you know? And I think that's the point that I wanted to drive home when I got on, is especially for men, don't be afraid to go get help. And it doesn't have to be a professional. Talk to your friends, talk to your buddies, tell them how you really feel. But just saying I'm all right when you're not, is just going to lead you down a bad path.
Yeah, I really love that, dude. And a big part of me wanting to do bigger, stronger, happier is to create a safe space for men, because I feel like a lot of times in this day and age, we're kind of like, men aren't really, we're almost expected just to be like the strong, manly figure. And there's no shame in admitting you need help. There's no shame in admitting you're not exactly where you want to be. But just having those avenues, and me personally, for me, bigger, stronger, happier, I have no interest in helping women. Like, there's plenty of coaches out there that can help coach women. I want to have a safe space for men, and I've really seen when you create that area where men can just be men, a lot of dudes just really start to kind of blossom and open up and like really thrive. I mean, I don't know if I was gonna wrap it up, but if you wanted to speak at all, like, you did my challenge, it was all guys. I don't know if you have noticed at all where having a space for just men is beneficial at all for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think because we all can kind of deal with the same problems in life. Like you said, like being thought of to be a manly man, and we can't cry or we can't do this. We all deal with that pressure. So if you have other men that are saying, hey man, it's okay, it allows you to thrive. And again, and I don't want it to be taken this way, and I know this isn't how you meant it, but just so people know, this isn't to say that women aren't allowed to have these feelings either, or that women don't have a place of their own. It's just simply that you found a niche where you don't think men are represented as well as women are. And you're trying to bring that out, and that's great. And I think that's what people, especially men, should understand, that even if you're afraid to do it, take baby steps. Say how you're feeling once, or talk to your buddy and say, hey, are you okay? Are you really okay? Or tell a friend you love them. I think when you start doing this stuff and you start emotionally opening up yourself, you start thriving in other areas of your life as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So if people want to kind of, they heard you, they like what you're saying, if they want to kind of follow along your journey, where's a good place for them to find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter's more my funny stuff. I tweet a lot of stupid things, some political stuff. So if you don't like that, maybe don't follow me there. Instagram is more pictures of me, my daughter, my family, kind of that. It does have my weight loss journey in there as well. Especially, like I said, on my stories, I post myself when I work out. But both those handles are at King Crep, CREP. Yeah, they're the same thing. You'll find me. I think Twitter's public, Instagram's private, but if you request me, I add everyone. I might actually turn it back to public now that, I'm starting to add more stuff to it. But yeah, you can follow me on those two. Like I said, I do a lot of talking now on Twitter recently. So if you like funny things, follow me there.
Cool, man. I appreciate it so much. I want to say thanks for being open, and also just not only congratulations, but thanks for doing the work, and really putting the steps in to become the strongest version of you, and also help other men along the way. It's
Yeah,
important.
absolutely. Thanks for giving me a platform to speak. Like I said, I wanted to just kind of get this message out because I know other men could use it, and hopefully, even if we affect one guy who wants to come and talk to me or you, that's one more that didn't have a voice before. So it's important.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, man. And we will
All right.
talk soon. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good night, man.
You too.
All right. Bye.